Hello friends, it's Kayla. Welcome back to my series where I do a deep dive of my TBR shelf, my TBR closet, clear it all out and go through it with you. In this episode, we're talking horror, sci-fi, and fantasy. I didn't know the numbers until I got everything ready today. So there's actually only 20 sci-fi and 10 horror. So each of those being their own video, like would have been a real short. And then I have like 40 fantasy. But my problem is like sometimes I don't really know if it's sci-fi or fantasy, so some things might overlap, so it's a good thing they're all going to be in one video. Kicking it off with science fiction, I still don't think that I know my exact perfect preference within the genre. I don't know everything that I like and dislike. So the stack here, the reason they're on my TBR shelf is because either they look like they're space books and I like space books, or I've been told that I should read them, and I probably don't even know what they are, but I trust people. So I'm gonna start with the ones that like I know for sure are sci-fi. I have Obsidia, which is the third book in the Illuminae Chronicles by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. I think I gave the other two books 5 stars. Everyone says this is their least favorite, so like what motivation do I have to finish the series? But I know I will eventually, and I'm sure that I'll love it when I get to it. This is, oh, Space Wars. The style of this is very cool. It's combinations of documents and articles and chat rooms and things that look like this, and it makes it fun. Next up, I know this is set in space because it has moon in the title. 172 Hours on the Moon by Johan Harstad. This is something that I know that BookTube was obsessed with back in like 2014, 2015. Everyone read this like as a teenager, and so I don't know if this time in my life is the right time to read this, so you can advise me if I should still check it out. But people tell me there's a really good twist in here, and it's kind of horror, so it sounds like a fun time. Don't ask me the plot of these spacey books because I don't know. I just know they're set in space. Like, look at this cover. This is Starflight by Melissa Landers. I think this is like a space opera romance where there are two characters and there's some conspiracy and they have to get on a ship and find out things. See, I knew this would be the messiest video of the lot, but here we are. This is Satellite by Nick Lake. It's set in space, so I bought it. Actually, I think this one is set on Earth. These people grew up on Moon 2, a space station that orbits Earth, and now they're going to Earth for the first time, and I guess just having to like acclimate. This one is the first book in a series that people have told me to pick up. It's called Luna, New Moon. It's by Ian MacDonald. Okay, it's a survival story, and it's about evil dueling corporations. This one's called Mirror in the Sky by Aditi Khorana. And look, there's all these characters looking into space. This is a YA book, and it's about like another Earth, basically. There's like a mirror Earth, and the things that are happening on that planet and the discovery of that planet affect the realities of people on Earth. But it's more just like a contemporary story where this person's just like in high school and this guy likes her, and she's like, oh, it's because my doppelganger on another planet chose to do something different, so my life's affected. Or something like that. This one's another YA called Early Departures by Justin A. Reynolds. This one's not set in space. It's about technology and the ability to have people reanimated. So basically his friend gets reanimated and he only has a short time with him, and then he's gonna die again, and he has to decide if he wants to tell his friend the truth. Okay, let's get back to space. Or no. Well, this looks like space, but I think this is an apocalypse story. It's called The Effort by Claire Holdroyd. I am obsessed with this cover. Okay, so there's a comet and it's threatening the entire human race. And we're following some characters who are building a counteraction team. But I think it's also just a lot like of interpersonal relationships and like self-discovery and growth. Next up is a recent addition to my collection. I've also been told that I should read this. It's called The Calculating Stars by Mary Robinette Cowell. And there's this group of women. It's like a historical alternate history. A huge meteorite falls to Earth, which makes the Earth inhospitable to humanity, and all of these women get together, and our main character wants to be the first lady astronomer. Then I have this one. I haven't taken this, well, I just made it worse. I didn't want you to see my sticker. This is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. Never been interested in a Brandon Sanderson. Continue to not really be interested in Brandon Sanderson, but people have told me that if I like space competition stuff, that Skyward like, it's embarrassing that I haven't read it yet. That's what people tell me. So I bought it, okay? I don't know what it's about. It's about pilots. Okay, we have a character named Spensa. I've definitely heard that name before. Her father abruptly deserted his team, leaving Spence's chances at attending flight school at slim to none. Something, something, something. I don't understand. I'm gonna read it though. Then I have Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro, who is an author I'm very intrigued by. And the opposite is true with this. People tell me that I probably won't like this. I know this is about AI, and I think our AI is Clara. It looks into our rapidly changing modern world through the eyes of an unforgettable narrator to explore a fundamental question. What does it mean to love? Next up, similar colored cover. This is The Minders by John Mars, which I only recently bought, and honestly, I've been considering getting rid of it because people have been telling me that it's just like the one, like it's the same story. Basically, there are 5 ordinary people who've been selected to be the Minders. Together, they know every secret. They're given a chance to leave their problems behind and give them a blank slate. Yeah, I don't know. Next up, I've got Autonomous. Anna Lee Newitz, and this is about a military agent and her partner who's an indentured robot, and they're like racing the clock to stop a drug trade. Next is The Electric Kingdom by David Arnold, which I just recently picked up, and this is post-apocalyptic. Ooh, pretty. This is about a deadly flu, and the earth is like swarmed with infected flies. We have some survivors. It's about a quest for new life and perhaps eternal life. So interesting vibes there for sure. Next up is How to Stop Time by Matt Haig, which is another one that I don't know if I want to hold on to. Because I feel like all Matt Haig's books have the same like goal with what they're trying to say. This is about a man who has a rare condition, which means he's been alive for centuries. Now he just wants an ordinary life, but his one rule is don't fall in love. So naturally, he's going to. Then we've got All Systems Red by Martha Wells, which is the first book in a novella series that I've been told that I will like. Something about androids, something about a distant planet, something about the corporation. Next up is Future Home of the Living God by Louise Erdrich. And this has something to do with evolution and a new law about childbearing. It says it's a dystopian story, but it sounds very much informed by history. So I guess I also have dystopian. Should I have made it dystopian its own category? I don't know. Next I have Strange Exit by Parker P.V. House. We might be transitioning right now into fantasy, just so you know. And this is about like everybody on the earth dying. There's only a few survivors and they're living in a simulated reality, a place where human minds can live while the earth heals. Unfortunately, the simulation's about to fail, and our main character like knows that they're in a simulation, but nobody else does, or something like that. I have Adaptation here by Melinda Lowe. Oh, it says it's a science fiction thriller right there. There's a vast global conspiracy. I feel like this was popular like years and years ago, and again, it's like, is this one that I should hold on to? Let me know. Then I have The Sandcastle Empire by Kayla Olson. I picked up something else from her that was set in space, I think, and people were telling me that I will like this one better. This says it's a near future sci-fi thriller. It takes place on an island, which I love. There's a sanctuary our main character Eden is trying to get to. It's a survival story. And that's that. Moving on to fantasy. The Rules of Magic by Alice Hoffman, which is a, what is it, a prequel to Practical Magic? But I recently watched this movie with my channel members, the Practical Magic, and people were telling me that this one's not really worth the read. I have Spellbook of the Lost and Found by Moira Fowley Doyle. Really, anything about magic, especially magic in the real world, I'm gonna pick it up. This is about a group of 6 friends who find a spell book, and I think they make some mistakes with like the magic that they're accessing. I feel like that's pretty standard with the magical books that I pick up. This one is called A Darker Shade of Magic. And really all I know about this is that there's different versions of London. There's a gray London, a red London, and one magician who can travel between the worlds. I also have The Lost Apothecary, which is one of my favorite covers. This is like a historical fantasy story. There's an apothecary with poisons, and people are like killing bad men in their life, and there are 2 different timelines, and somehow these women and what they're doing is connected. I have Wink Poppy Midnight, which is another cover I absolutely love. I thought I unhauled this a while ago, have to be honest. It's by April Genevieve Toholke, and I just like don't know what it's about, so I don't When will I pick it up? It just says, every story needs a hero, every story needs a villain, every story needs a secret. 2 girls, 1 boy, 1 summer, 1 bad thing. What really happened? Someone knows someone's lying. What is the plot? Maybe there isn't one. Then I have Dealing in Dreams by Lillian Rivera. Sorry, this says it's a science fiction thriller. It's about a place called Mega City. Our main character lives in the exclusive Mega Towers, and there's a mysterious gang. Don't know much more of the plot, but people have told me I will like that. This one is another one people really want me to read, so I'm holding on to it. It'll happen. It's called Lobezona. It's by Romina Garber. I think, again, this is rooted in reality. It's about Argentinian heritage, the treatment of undocumented immigrants, and then our main character finds out she was born a bruja. Next up, another beautiful cover with another ugly sticker. Blackwater Sister by Zen Cho. It's about a girl whose grandmother was a spirit medium, and now she is drawn into the world of God's ghosts and family secrets. Next up is Popisho, another one of my absolute favorite covers, by Leonie Ross. And this is about a place called Popisho. Everybody born there has a little something extra. It's inspired by the author's Jamaican homeland. It's about destiny, mischief, magic, mystery. All the blurbs just say it's very imaginative, but I still don't really know what it's about. Then I have The Summer That Melted Everything by Tiffany McDaniel, which I started and then never finished. And it's about a family who are wrestling with their own demons, but also there's an actual demon. The devil is here. He's a bruised and tattered 13-year-old boy claiming to be the devil himself. Next up is Tess of the Road. I bought this for something and I can't remember what it was. I feel like it was a video or something. It's about dragons, which is not my typical thing, but I'm obsessed with the cover. And maybe there was something about this that someone said that because I like that thing in other books that I would be into this one. It says it's in a medieval kingdom. Women are expected to be ladies, but Tess is different. I think it's like she's expected to be a nun, but she wants to be a dragon rider. Slayer? Something. Next up is The Water Dancer by Ta-Nehisi Coates. I've had this for a while. I enjoy this author's writing, but I feel like I've had this for a long time now. The cover really works for me. It's about a magical gift, a devastating loss, and an underground war for freedom. It's about a character who drowns and then his life is saved. And I don't think it's a particularly magical story, but because this magic saved him, he now has new like ambition for life and like surviving and saving other people from, yeah, slavery. It's about the atrocities inflicted on generations of women, men, and children. Next up is The Age of Miracles by Karen Thompson Walker, which is another one I've had for way too long. I enjoyed The Dreamers by her, and this is a YA book from her. So like, I feel like I rarely will read adult books from an author and then go to their younger stuff. We're following a character named Julia, and her family discover that something has happened to the rotation of the earth. Gravity is affected, and it just changes like everyone's relationships and stuff. Have you read it? Should I read it? Next up is Mirrorland by Carol Johnstone. This might be like a fantasy horror. This says it's neo-gothic, dark and devious, featuring twin sisters. They invented this place in their minds called Mirrorland, where all of this fantasy stuff went on, and now as adults they stumble back into it or discover that it's a real place and not just their childhood fantasies. Okay, let's keep going. I'm trying to keep energy levels up. This one is called Magic for Liars. So it's about magic. In this we also are following twins. One of them got magic, one of them didn't, and they like want what each other have, I guess. Sibling dynamics, super fun. This one is Mirage by Samoya Dowd. And this one is not twins, but I think they look like twins. There's a princess and there's someone who's not a princess, and the not a princess gets kidnapped and has to like pretend to be the princess, you know, as a sort of protection thing and a body double. So there's that. We've got Hollow Kingdom by Kira Jane Buxton, which I'm very excited to read someday. And it's about a crow, and I think the crow is the main character. It gives us a bird's eye view of an apocalypse. Whatever that means. Sounds fun. Next I have A Chorus Rises by Bethany C. Morrow, which is the companion to A Song Below Water, which is about mermaids, sirens. This one is about a character and a creature known as an Iloko. She's also a teen influencer. I want to read it. I don't know how it's going to go. Next up, as far as an author I've read from before, we've got Mindy McGinnis. This is A Madness So Discreet. The cover just looks really good to me. It's a historical thriller, so I think it's going to have like perspective on the idea of asylums and the way that women are treated. This one might not actually be, I don't know, it says it's a twisted historical thriller and it's about good and evil and madness. Maybe it's more realistic actually. Next I have This Is Not a Ghost Story by Andrea Portis. And this I think is like a pretty realistic story, but there is this weird paranormal vibe, and there's a house that our main character Daffodil feels like she's being pulled to. I mean, it says it's not a ghost story, so maybe it's not a ghost story. Next we have The 10th Girl by Sarah Faring, and this was recommended to me directly a few times, but since I've hauled it, so many people have told me that I'm actually gonna hate it. So I don't know why, what context that's in. But it is a haunted Argentinian mansion and a family curse. Next up is Everyone Knows Your Mother is a Witch by Rivka Galchin. It's about a woman who's accused of a witch, of like poisoning someone. She's on the run and trying to clear her name. And again, who knows how actually fantastical that one turns out to be. But this one I for sure know is fantasy. Hunted by the Sky by Tanaz Bettina. I've read from this author before. This is the first book in, is it a duology or a longer series? I don't remember. I think this is a fantasy romance. It's set in medieval India. Oh, it says right here, fantasy duology about class struggles, high stakes romance, and a breathtaking magical backdrop. There's a kingdom. There are girls born with these special birthmarks who've continually gone missing, and I think she's gonna solve that mystery or something like that. Another fantasy series. This is such a heavy book. Black Leopard Red Wolf by Marlon James. This is basically the search for a missing child. It draws from African history and mythology, and we're following a tracker who is using his shape-shifting power to like track down this missing person. Next up, another fantasy series, We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal. In this we have a character who is a hunter, and she disguises herself as a man. She has to brave the cursed forest. It's inspired by ancient Arabia, and I think this is also like a romance. They're embarking on a quest to uncover a lost artifact that can restore magic to the suffering world. Then we've got The Vanishing Deep by Astrid Schultz. I think this got a new cover recently that I prefer. In this, people are born into a world of water. The magic in here has to do with like being able to revive people, restoring life. I don't know about this one. Perhaps I could ditch this one. You let me know. Next we have The Institute by Stephen King. This one I've heard is just like X-Men, basically like a similar concept. It's following kids. They all have different powers, telekinesis, telepathy, and they live in this institute. I don't know, like I picked it up because I pick up all Stephen King. I think I like lent this out to my mom. I don't know that I love reading about children with powers, so I definitely need someone to let me know if I should read this or not. Either way, I'm keeping it, like it's part of my giant spanning Stephen King collection, but I don't know if it'll be for me. Another Stephen King I have is his collaborative book with his son, Owen. It's called Sleeping Beauties. This one is just so long that it feels like an ambitious thing to pick up, but I do think I will like this one. There's something happening to women that when they go to sleep, they become shrouded in a cocoon-like gauze. And when they're sleeping, they're going to another, like, better place. But then we're following a woman who is immune to that, like, sleeping disease, and she becomes, like, a scientific anomaly, and they're studying her. Next up, I've got Sharks in a Time of Saviors by Kawai Strong Washburn, and this one again is the I don't know how much reality and how much magic, because it kicks off with this like shark saving this child, bringing him back to like his family's boat or something. It's about legends and supernatural stuff, but then we're following all of these different family members and I think coming back together, and I don't know if the supernatural is going to really ramp up or if it's going to be more about like their relationships, but I'm interested. Next we have She Weeps Each Time You're Born by Quan Berry, and this is about a baby girl pulled out of her dead mother's grave who is found to have the ability to speak with the dead. Where it goes from there, I do not know. This is the shortest one I think I have. It's called Fever Dream by Samantha Schweblin. And this is one where the synopsis is very strange and it makes me think the book is going to be written in a really strange way. There's a woman who's dying. There's a boy named David sitting beside her. She's not his mother. He's not her child. but they're going to tell a haunting story of broken souls, toxins, and the power and desperation of family. It says it's a ghost story for the real world and a cautionary tale. Like, everyone tells me I'm going to love this so much. Next, I have The Inheritance of Arcadia Divina by Zoraida Cordova. This is a multi-generational story where this woman dies and all of her kind of family comes to get their inheritance, but there's some type of destruction happening to the family tree and people are losing their magic, people are dying. This was so many people's favorite book last year or in their favorites list, so I'm excited to have it and read it. Next, I have a Walter Mosley. It's called Inside a Silver Box. And in this silver box is the most destructive and powerful entity in the universe. And there's an alien race known as the Laz who's desperate to control it once more. My bad, should have been in the sci-fi section. Okay, and then a couple series continuations that I have are the sequels to The Kiss of Deception. I have The Heart of Betrayal and The Beauty of Darkness. I definitely need to reread the first book before I get into these, but I do think I want to continue in the series someday. The book kicks off with, I think, like this princess and she's running away, and then there are two people chasing her. One's an assassin, one's a prince. And she doesn't know who's who, and neither do you as a reader. I gave it 5 stars, but I don't really remember much about it. Next, I have Dustlands by Moira Young, which is the 3rd book in the Blood Red Road series. I don't like that the blurb on the front is better than the Hunger Games. Like, can we not? Let's not do that. I love Blood Red Road so much and the sequel, and everyone says this is like one of the worst finales to a series ever. And it's like an adventure story, which is not my typical thing, but I've liked the series so far, so I do want to finish it. Next is one that, like, I don't think I'll ever finish, but I still own the final book because, like, I have the complete trilogy, so I don't want to get rid of it. But it's A Sweet Far Thing by Libba Bray. I really liked A Great and Terrible Beauty, and then I didn't love Rebel Angels, and I don't also remember a lot about it. I think it's like this girl, it's historical. These girls can like visit another world, kind of. And I think their moms also have something to do with it. I don't really remember. I need to get rid of that book, but I don't want to. Then I have a couple series that I've bought multiple books in the series and I just haven't started. But like when you find them at the thrift store, how do you say no? So I have Knots and Crosses by Mallory Blackman, which is a thriller, but it's also fantasy, I think. Maybe it's not, but I already filmed my thriller video, so there's nothing I can do about it now. Okay, Callum is a knot, a second-class citizen in a society run by the ruling crosses. Seifi is a cross and daughter of the man slated to become prime minister. In their, okay, it is in a different world. In their world, white knots and black crosses simply don't mix, and they certainly don't fall in love, but that's exactly what they've done. Okay, so I've got that, and then I've got Checkmate. I think it's a trilogy. Don't know if that's the 2nd or 3rd book, but I have them both. And then I have Son of a Trickster by Eden Robinson, which is the 1st book in, I don't know, is this a trilogy? This is the 3rd book, and it's called Return of the Trickster. I don't remember what the in-between book is. But this is like a coming-of-age novel, but it's also very informed by mythology, so I hope no one would take issue with me putting this in the fantasy video. Apologies. I think some like animals end up communicating with this guy named Jared. Who knows what happens in this one, but I accidentally bought this one thinking it was the 1st book, and it had gotten like a recover, so then I went back and bought this one. Anyway, lastly, we'll blow through some horror, and some of these are speculative and some of them aren't, so I'm sure a few of these I could have put in the thriller video and just called them thriller horror, but I'm calling them horror fantasy, I guess, or just straight up horror. So this one is Manhunt by Gretchen Felker Martin, and it's about women who are chasing after feral men and harvesting their organs. This one is Dead Silence, which is a sci-fi horror. It's about a famous space liner that went missing, and some people go to investigate and find things, a ghost ship. Then we've got A Ghost Tree. This is by Christina Henry. We have a character who sees visions of a monster dragging the remains of a girl through the woods, and she knows she needs to do something. This one's called The Dead House by Billy O'Callahan, and this is a contemporary ghost story and a psychological thriller. She goes to stay in this spooky cottage. She brings her friends. They pull out a Ouija board, make some mistakes, and then, I don't know, shit goes down. Then I have The Twisted Ones by T. Kingfisher, which is about a girl who gets asked to clean out her dead grandmother's house. She discovers a journal, and in it there are stories of terrifying things. And will she live to tell the tale? Then I have Black Mad Wheel by Josh Mallerman. This is about sound. I remember that. It's about a harrowing journey through the scorching desert people are healing at a remarkable rate, and they're trying to track down the source of a mysterious sound. It says it's a psychological horror. Next up is Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. This is like, looks like an IKEA catalog, and I think it takes place in a place like IKEA. It's a haunted house story in a contemporary setting, and we're following characters who work here, and they, throughout the night, sketchy things happen. Then I have Come With Me by Ronald Malfi, which I almost read last year for the Goodreads Choice Horror Awards. This is about a man whose wife is killed, and now he's haunted by her absence / her ghost. And now he's discovering the secrets that his wife kept. Thriller horror, I think. Next, I have Pearl, another Josh Malerman. This is about a pig named Pearl, who I think can like control people with her mind. So there's that. I have Sundial by Katrina Ward. This is about a woman and her daughter starts to like speak to this imaginary friend, and it brings back memories of her childhood and the things that she could do, and both of these characters' perspectives and how they see each other. We have Kill Creek by Scott Thomas, about a bunch of authors that go on this like retreat. It starts as a publicity stunt and turns into a fight for survival. Then I have 12 Nights at Rotterhouse by J.W. Ocker, which is also about a man who's an author and he goes to stay in this haunted house with his friend. And it's about their friendship dynamics, secrets they're keeping from each other, but also something horror-y. I have Tell Me I'm Worthless by Alison Rumfitt, which is about girls who went into this haunted house as children and one of them never left, whatever that means. Now they're returning to the house and spirits or something. And then I have Gnarled Hollow. This is by Charlotte Green, and it's again about an author or a professor or a journalist or something going to stay in a supposed haunted house. Or she doesn't think it's haunted and finds out there is a ghostly inhabitant, and she also has to survive the house. So that's everything that I have that fits into this speculative vibe of fantasy, science fiction, horror. I am actively interested in all of these books. I read between 120 and 160 books every year, so I could reasonably read all of these in a year if I didn't buy new things and get distracted by new releases and read any other genre. Like, I could easily fly through all of these. So why can't I do it? I would love for you to tell me which ones here that you have read that you think I absolutely need to prioritize, or which ones that you want to read and you just need to know my thoughts before you know if you should read it. I'm really looking forward to your comments and your thoughts on everything, and I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into this section of my reading life, and I will see you later. Bye!